data analytics fun. So inform, educate, entertain.
Welcome to the Data Nerd Podcast. I'm your host, Nisar Ahmed. Join me as we explore the inner data nerd inside all of us. Dive into the world of data alongside special guests who not only share their wealth of experience and knowledge, but also unveil what truly makes them data nerds. This podcast is brought to you by Business Intelligence. That's BIZNIS Intelligence. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Business Intelligence to stay up to date with Tableau training and the Data Nerd podcast. Connect with me on LinkedIn or stream the Data Nerd podcast across all major podcast platforms. Welcome to the Data Nerd podcast. Today I have the pleasure of welcoming Andy Cotgreave. Andy, welcome to the Data Nerd podcast. Happy to have you.
It is an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm always happy to talk about data and Tableau and nerdery.
Listen, that's what I look out for. This is what I do. I go on LinkedIn and I see who's the most nerdiest people, and I get them on. So you made the cut.
I'm proud.
So, Andy, for those who don't know you, and that should be not very many people. You're like the face of Tableau when you go to the conference. So, but just a little introduction. Andy Cotgreave is a globally recognized data visualization expert and the Senior Data Evangelist at Tableau. With over 2 decades of experience in the data industry, Andy is passionate about helping people see and understand their data in meaningful ways. He is the co-author of the Big Book of Dashboards and a frequent speaker at global conferences where he shares insights on the art and science of effective data storytelling. Andy is also a host of the Tableau Iron Viz competition, which is the world's largest data visualization contest, where he helps showcase the incredible creativity and skill within the global data community. Did I miss anything?
I don't know. There's the How to Speak Data newsletter, and I guess since we're in this mode, we have just submitted the manuscript for the sequel to this, or not the sequel, for another book called Dashboards That Deliver, which will be out in September 2025.
I'm looking forward to that. So you know what? So I started Tableau 8 years ago. Actually, it's 9 now. That's 2016.
Yeah.
So that is the very first book that I got.
That's
And
amazing.
when I started Tableau, this is my story. The podcast is not about me, but I'll tell you my story because it ties in to that book.
Yeah.
I worked for this company. I never used Tableau before. I didn't know much about it. They said, we've got a Tableau license. Do you want to use it? I'm like, sure. So I Google searched and I said, what is Tableau? Blah, blah. I saw some videos. And then I saw your book. I'm like, okay, let me get your book. I got the Big Book of Dashboards. I opened it up. I'm like, wow, this is great. I saw all these examples and I had some ideas in my mind on what I wanted to create and design, but I wasn't quite sure how to design it or what ideas were there. So I glanced through the book and I went through every single viz in there.
Yeah.
I bookmarked the ones that I liked and what components I liked, and I kind of combined them together to then create my very first dashboard, um which they liked and kind of started me on my journey to where I am now. Now 9 years later, I'm a Tableau ambassador.
Amazing.
And I love it. But it all started with that book. So I'm sure I'm not the only one who had benefited from that book.
Well, thank you for buying the book. I mean, one of the things we wanted to see when we sold the book was, if the people are watching, is we wanted the book to be just full of little bookmarks and tags. And one of the principal inspirations for the book was a book by Austin Kleon called "Steal Like an Artist," right? And this is an art creator, a creative's manifesto. But we wanted to showcase real world dashboards and be like, look, there are amazing ideas here. So we're going to present you the dashboard, give you the ideas, and then, do exactly like you did, just like pick and choose, rethink how you could reapply to different use cases. And yeah,
Yeah.
fortunately, it was good. So the new book has got another 12. Well, it's got over. Is it 12 or 15? I can't remember. Over at least a dozen new scenarios, but then a whole front section on the process of building dashboards, which we
Oh, interesting.
because we didn't
So
really include that in the first book.
yeah, yeah. So it's a little bit of a different take on, how to go about creating dashboards. Is
Yeah.
that?
So in the big book, we just went, hey, here's some dashboards.
Yeah.
And left everybody to it.
Hmm.
And then a lot of people were like, "But Andy, Andy, Steve, and Jeff, how'd you write? How'd you make them?" So this time we've built a framework from from the initial spark through to prototyping, design, maintenance, release, and even the ultimate death of a dashboard. So yeah, we're hoping that framework's going to be really beneficial to everybody.
So is it just for Tableau? Is it meant for
No,
because here's the thing, big book of dashboards is I don't think anywhere in there does it say that this is only meant for Tableau, right?
no. That was very intentional. It's tool agnostic. I mean, it happens. The majority of the dashboards in the first book are from Tableau, but not all of them, because dashboards. Well, there are multiple dashboarding tools. Power BI clearly is the biggest competitor to Tableau,
Hmm.
and then just in the new one, it's the same. We even feature one of the scenarios is the super wall at the NASA Public Museum in Washington D.C. So it's about a 200-foot dashboard that people see on public display, but it's still a visual display of data, right? So there are dashboards from all sorts of technologies and walks of life that we can pick and choose ideas from. So
Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's great. That's great. So, I mean, I was going to ask you about, so the book was that book was published how many years ago?
2017, I believe.
2017. Okay. So it's been 8 years, right?
Yeah.
So what 8 years have gone, um, and if you look back at that book, is there anything you would have done differently when you,
Well, I mean, there's a few ways to answer that. There's a perspective of a hypercritical self it's a hyper self-critical author, right? So I remember opening it. I mean, all I could do the first time I had a physical copy was like, "There's so many mistakes in this book," right? And then so you have to get over that. Then there's this thing I've called writer's remorse. The
yeah,
second you submit a manuscript, you're like, "Oh, we should have written about this," right? And so just talking about the ultimate death of a dashboard, I'm not sure we've written enough about when to deprecate a dashboard. I think we could have written an entire chapter on that, and I think we've done that. So
yeah.
there's the nightmare of writing a book is that you have to submit it at some point, but your brain doesn't stop working, right? So the biggest thing missing from the first book was process. How do you do it? So that was the meta goal for this follow up.
But that is what you're talking about is not just writing books.
Yeah,
Even when I'm creating dashboards in Tableau, it's the
yeah,
exact same thing. I'm almost like a perfectionist. I'm like, no, I have to fix this and that. But at some point, you just got to put it into production and be like, here you
yeah.
go, and not worry about the small details because if it does the job, it's great. But even then, I'll publish something. I'm like, oh, I need to change this. I need to change that, and you always kind of second guess yourself. And maybe that's part of what makes a good dashboard developer. I don't know. Is that a
All
trait?
right, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the reason I fell in love with this field so much is that it is a dance or a tension between science, art, and getting shit done, right? So there is the science of communication, but then there is the finesse to put these things together. But finesse takes time, right? Steve Jobs was always great about how hard it was to make a simple iPhone, right? To make an iPhone interface that was that simple was brutally, brutally hard.
Hmm.
Our job as developers or as data communicators is to make data messages simple to consume, right? And it's brilliant fun, right? You can tweak everything. But for most of us, 99.9% of applications, we're also getting paid to do something to a deadline. So, at some point you have to stop. But I think having having that creative passion to get it right is a really important trait.
Yeah.
Knowing how to calm it and when to calm it is the secret of success in this field.
that's true, and you got to strike that balance, right?
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
assuming you talk about that too in this new book.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. We've got a new author, so Amanda McCulloch, who exec form was just stopped being exec director at Data Viz Society. She's our fourth author, and
Mm.
she and I wrote the first section. And we've got this: don't let perfect be the enemy of done, right? Not even good. It's just like at some point you've got to get it done, right?
Yes.
Um, but
Yes.
also I'm sure most people know the other thing is as soon as you give something to users, they will tell you what they think, right? And so actually, that's also getting things out there
Yeah.
early can
Yeah.
be advantageous because you'll learn that what you think they want isn't actually what they really want.
It becomes a little tricky sometimes when you work with those stakeholders because you have these ideas in your head and you think you know what's best, and they come back and say, "No, I want it this way."
Yeah.
And then you have to kind of strike that balance on, what's the right way to do it, or or how do you deliver it in the way that they want it. And this is
So
what so I teach students the Tableau as well. I teach analytics in Tableau as well. And I tell people, ask me that question, and I want to get your take on this too. And what I tell them is, I we I consider myself the expert in data visualization. They're the expert in the business. Okay.
mhm.
They may need things a certain way. Okay, fine. They'll come and say, let's suppose they say I want it to look like an Excel spreadsheet, which
Yeah.
most people who work in Tableau don't like. Okay. We like the visual side. Um, I'll create two versions. One's theirs, one's mine, and then I'll show it to them. Once they see it, then they may realize that, okay, your version's better. How do you approach those type of situations?
Well, I think you touched on it there actually, and we borrowed. We quote the person in the book, but I forget their name at the moment. But the real it was somebody who presented at Data Fam Europe in London last week, last November. I can't remember who it was. One of the British ambassadors. But she was like, "Well, who's the expert? Nobody is. Or you're all combined. You are the expert." So you've alluded to it there, right? You and I might know about the best way to present data and what you can do with data engineering, but they know the business question, right? So the worst thing you can do is preach, be like, well, I'm not giving you the spreadsheet, and you're certainly not having a pie chart, and you are going to use this richly interactive application because that's what's best. And they'll just go, what? You're not listening to me. But at the same time, when they go, well, I need a 400-page spreadsheet that I can print out onto 400 pieces of paper every month, you can kind of be like, so finding that sweet spot does sometimes require compromises from both sides.
Mhm.
Certainly in the business world, you can't always build that beautiful piece of data artwork you might want to in your heart. You have to work with the business users to find the right thing, and you should be advising each other and listening to each other along the way. I mean, I think one of the brilliant things about Tableau is that you can go and satisfy as a developer, you can satisfy the creative side to your heart's content with things like Iron Viz and all the community projects, right? So be real at business and
Yeah.
go crazy if you're
Yeah.
playing with Tableau out of work.
Sounds like a marriage, right? Yeah.
I'm 20 years in. Yeah, I think it probably has been a marriage. Yeah,
You just have to like give and take and compromise and work
yeah,
together
yeah.
you know,
I mean, God, I mean, that's actually not a bad. I mean, the marriage there is when you're working with colleagues, you have taken an oath, you have signed an oath that
yeah.
you are going to work together to make that business successful, right? And so you have to through I can't remember the vows now. Well, till death do you or till death do you part, right?
Yes.
Give and take. I literally can't remember any of the wedding vows. To love and cherish and all that thing. But yeah, it is. It is
Yeah.
give and take.
Yeah. Um, so no, I'm looking forward to that book. So September 2025 is when
Yep.
it's going to be released. Okay, great, great. Um, you don't have any links up with information on the book right yet, do you?
Uh, if you Google or whatever you want searches dashboards that deliver, it is available for pre-order on Wiley and other book retailers. Obviously, you can go to the big one, or you can support more ethical companies than that one.
Awesome. Great. Looking forward to it. Now, so let's talk about your role as a Tableau evangelist. What is a Tableau evangelist? Like what do you do as a Tableau evangelist?
Uh, well, I, I, I look back and I don't, well, I know how I got it, but I recognize and I'm humbled that I've got the privilege to have one of the most perfect jobs anyone who has people like us have. I've
Yeah.
managed to have that job. Um, my job as an evangelist is to share, is to synthesize ideas and knowledge about the trends in technology, in our case, data and AI and storytelling, and reflect those back to an audience, to audiences with authenticity and passion. And it's like, well, okay, so that's the definition. Why would anybody pay anybody to do that?
Mm,
Ultimately, Tableau, we are trying to sell software, right? In the end, we are trying to sell software, but we Tableau was founded and based in scientific research with a mission to help people see and understand data. Tableau is a mission-based company, so we want to tell people about that mission, and then they buy the software because it solves the problem. So why would they pay somebody like me to be an evangelist? Because there is so much market noise. There is so much content. I mean, this is even more true now. It's just LinkedIn is an AI soup, right? And yet, so when authentic, passionate voices come through, it penetrates in a way that has a real independence and impact. So my personal motto is to inform, educate, and entertain. That's my goal, right? And anybody listening in the UK who's a fan of the BBC might know that that is the BBC's founding principles too. I stole the idea from them. So their first DG said we should inform, educate, entertain. And that's the goal, right? I want to tell people about what we do. I want to educate them as to why it's important. And
yeah.
it's really important to me that, you know what? I devote 8 to 10 hours of my working days to this stuff. And people have to work too, and I want it to be fun. Why not? I mean, and Tableau, holy cow, made data analytics fun. So inform, educate, entertain. And then to finish the question, so that turns people to the field of data analytics and communication, and then I go and Tableau is the best thing to do
Yeah.
for
So
that. Let's build a relationship.
I think
Yeah.
when you talk about inform, educate, and entertain, there are a lot of people who could inform and educate, but I think what separates you apart from other ones is your ability to entertain, and that's you can see that in action when in Iron Viz. You're hosting, you're entertaining, um, you could be on America's Got Talent and be on TV and be a host there. Like you have the I don't know, the intangible skill set there to say the right things at the right time and keep people
Mm-hmm.
engaged, right? And part of, I guess, selling software is to keep people engaged and entertained as
Yeah.
well. But also when you educate people, when you inform people, when you do it in an entertaining fashion, uh, it's more impactful, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely right. And again, thank you for those kind words, right? And I've struggled with a lot for a long time to sort of recognize that, yeah, that is a skill I have. I've always thought it's not a skill to be able to present, is it? Is it right? But then you look back and go, oh well, I've actually been practicing this skill for 20 years, right? For more than that, actually. So it is a skill I have, and it is, and I choose to do things in I try and entertain, right?
Mhm.
I mean, one can be. I think actually, right. So this is right. This is a really good. I've never really thought of it this way. Inform, educate.
Yeah.
I think they're two vital criteria. So I try and entertain by making it all fun, but you could also come to it be a super evangelist with a lot of gravitas, right? Instead of me goofing around on Iron Viz stage or just bringing energy to a thing, you can do it with real seriousness, right? Look with seriousness and talk slowly
Yeah.
with drama and pauses, right? And say
Yeah.
profound things. Now I try and be profound when necessary, but I think that third word inform, educate, and entertain, be profound. I guess there's flexibility there, but I think they are the ingredients. You can't just inform and educate. You've got to bring something else to it. And
Is that something you learned as you did it, or did you have any training on, how to
well,
entertain
this is
people?
a really interesting. It's something I didn't start reflecting on until about 3 or 4 years ago, right? And so I first got presentation training in
Mhm.
my first graduate job to back in 1995, 96. Really, I was like, this is fun. So then, not really knowing it, I started organizing like little events where we could do presentations. So I started presenting. And then it wasn't actually really until joining, becoming a data analyst and getting into the Tableau world in about 2007 that I actually started presenting more. Tableau invested massively in speaker training, right? Right. They don't do it so much now, but every event we had on-site speaker trainers, actor coaches, voice coaches. And man, I sucked it all up. I sucked it all up because you come to realize it is a skill, it is an art, and it is a learnable skill that gets better with practice. So I took every advantage to build those skills. And again, right, if somebody thinks, I'd love to be an evangelist, it's like, well, get out and practice. Go and speak at every community event you possibly can, whether that's a Tableau user group or something else. Another aspect that has helped me hugely is I don't know if you know Nisal, but I was a close-up magician for a lot of this time. I don't know if
Uh,
you
No, I didn't know
right.
that.
So about 12 years ago, I read a book about the psychology of magic called The Sleights of Mind.
Mm.
And the psychology of magic is the same as the psychology of data visualization, right? You're trying to use the eye and the brain and cognitive science in magic to fool, but in data visualization to inform.
Yeah. Wow.
So I became a magician, right? So people who are a bit longer in the tooth in the community will remember I did a lot of magic at a lot of conferences, and COVID it kind of fell. I just ran out of steam once the pandemic happened. But doing close-up magic in front of 10 people is was an absolutely unmatchable way of learning speaker skills, right? So if you see him on the Iron Viz stage, I
Yes.
can now bounce around and respond instantaneously. Because when you're performing close-up magic, even though the effect you might be doing the effect the same, every single interaction is different. You can never predict. So again, anybody who wants to learn to be a speaker, you can learn speaker skills, right? That is a learnable skill, but there are loads of other avenues where you can develop the skills differently, right? So magicians performing music, doing comedy, right? Debating, right? There's loads of ways where you can also develop those skills. So, yes, I have learned the skills. And again, I remember Francois Ragenstadt, who was a great mentor, chief product officer who left Tableau a few years ago. I remember about 9 or 10 years ago and being like, aren't you terrified standing in front of 4,000, 6,000, 10,000 people? And he's like, well, I was a bit scared when I stood in front of 10 people, but that enabled me to stand in front of 50. That was 100. Then it was 1,000. And I always remember that because by the time I was doing massive keynotes on the Iron Viz stage, I was like, well, it's kind of on one level, it's like objectively terrifying. This is a full stadium.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, I've spoken in front of 2,000 people before. It's kind of the same. Yeah, so definitely a
People
learnable
have
skill.
that fear of public speaking is very real for a lot of people,
Oh, it is.
right? Especially very technical people. You may be good at Tableau, but they're like, I don't know how to talk. Actually, I can relate to this. I was never a public speaker. I
Hmm.
hated public speaking. Actually, in high school, in our graduating class, in our yearbook, they had a had a vote. Who's most likely to this, that,
Yeah.
another. I was voted the shyest person in my
Oh my God.
class. Okay, so I hated public speaking. I hated going up on stage or talking in front of people. And now here I am. I'm like doing a podcast. I'm teaching people, and I actually enjoy it now. I'm still a shy person. Doesn't
Hmm.
change my personality, but I think you have to kind of put yourself out there and say like, listen, I think the reason why most people don't like speaking is because they're so critical of themselves and they think about what may go wrong
Yep.
when in reality most people don't care.
Yep.
Like
And
that's the truth.
I guess the reason it's worked so well for you is because uh, you're driven to do it because of your love of the field of Tableau and the field of data
Exactly.
communication, right?
Tableau
So
enabled me to speak, to
yeah,
communicate.
right. And it's like I mean, I remember when I started writing blogs about Tableau in 2008, I was like, I didn't want to learn blogging. I was just like, oh, I've got to get this stuff out, right? And if that's the motivation, people love listening to or reading or consuming content that has been written with authenticity, right? So, start the speaker journey. If you've got something you want to say, then that's the best place to start speaking about. Um,
Exactly. And I think the other reason why people don't speak is they feel like they don't have anything to say of value.
mhm.
But you'd be surprised. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I think people shortchange themselves, and there's a lot of things that people can add to that may help others, just based on your own personal experiences and journey.
Alberto Cairo, who's written Functional Art, How Charts Lie, and many great books, really, really great guy and leader in the field. He says that about people who are writing books. It's like, don't write about the theory of how to do data visualization. Write about your experiences around the theory of it, right? Because even though you and I, we could talk about pre-attentive attributes and bar is a great way to visualize and it's better than pies, blah, 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 blah,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, we know that. But even if three people taught the same thing in three different ways, there's just those little nuances of personal perspectives are interesting, right? And they all add value. Uh, I mean, there is a lot of content these days, right? There's loads of content. But if you have an intrinsic motivation and desire to share content, go for it. And
Yeah.
that, and looping right back, right? I was very lucky to join Tableau at the right time that this position came about. So that's what a Tableau evangelist does.
And I think what you talked about is kind of that's the art of storytelling.
Mm,
Why do people, and you know this better than me, and you correct me if I'm wrong. I think why storytelling is so effective is because people remember stories.
yeah,
Remember, like if you tell somebody, no, create a bar chart, like this is how you do it, step 1, 2, 3, and this is what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Okay, fine. I may hear it in the moment, but I'll forget it maybe, the next day. If you convey it in a story, I'll remember that story. It's easier for people to retain and remember when it's told in a story, right? And
mm,
is that why it's we or you preach storytelling and
yeah,
as effective
yeah,
communication?
yeah, absolutely. Taking people on an arc, even doing a software demo, right? Even I'm going to show you how to do a slope chart in Tableau, right? It's like, well, you set up the context and then you describe the problem. It's like, well, you bring in some tension because the normal chart doesn't show you, and then you just exclude all the data and you have a slope chart, and then you go, and there's the release, right? Now I can see start and end, and I couldn't. So even in software demos, creating those little arcs and pathways through emotions enhance a presentation. And I mean, in some ways, you read all the sales books about it. It almost feels like cheating. But well, if it's cheating, it is cheating. But we are wired to do that.
Yeah.
And again, I think one of the abilities I whatever for whatever reason have is that ability to speak and capture attention.
So how did it start? When was the first Iron Viz competition at Tableau?
First Iron Viz was 2012 or 11 or 13-ish. It
At
was
that
won by
time, it wasn't on the big stage.
no. So at that time, Tableau product marketing was about four people, and the Tableau was so small. It was just like, just do things. That was literally just get out there and make things happen. And so Ross Perez, who was one of the guys in product marketing team, was like, "Hey, this TV show Iron Chef is quite cool.
Hmm.
Why don't we do something like that at our Tableau conference? All right, whatever. You can have a room. and do whatever comes to mind. So Steve Wexler, one of the co-authors of Big Book of Dashboards, won that first event. I can't remember who the other competitors were, but it was tiny. It was in a room with about 100 people.
Yeah.
I wasn't in that first one. So then at 2014, it was still in a separate session. So it wasn't a keynote. In fact, I had to so it happened like at a breakout session, and I was doing. In fact, this is right. So it was in like whatever session room 2 at 10:45,
Mm.
and I was speaking in session room 3 next door to it at the same time, and I was doing a very highbrow presentation about the history of data viz. This is one of my favorite presentation moments ever.
Yeah.
So the walls in the conference center weren't super thick. So you've got all these goofy cheers coming from the Iron Viz room, and I'm trying to talk about history, blah blah blah, and then you do way cheering. So I was like, okay, audience, because I had a full room.
Yeah.
I was like, we can't let these Iron Viz audience outshout us. So the next time we hear them cheer, I'm going to stop talking, and we're all going to cheer super, super loudly so that they all hear us. So, we heard this cheer from Iron Viz. I stopped talking. It's like, come up loud. So everybody just went super raucous. And people in the Iron Viz audience then told me, like, yeah, what the hell was that? I was like, yeah, that was me showing we were louder than you. Anyway, that was fun. Uh, Sorry, yeah, presentation skills, learning to be in the moment. That was one of
Yeah.
those examples.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Then in 2015, we got to the keynote stage and have been on the keynote stage ever since. It's grown bigger and bigger and
But
bigger.
that when you're talking about the excitement level, that's real. That's still there. That's you feel it when you're there in person,
Mm,
right? It does feel very much like not just a game show, but like this is the ultimate competition,
yeah.
right?
It blows me away. It blows me away, right? You think you've got uh, 3 contestants who are masters of the game, right? So from an audience perspective, just seeing that mastery, seeing the tricks, the hacks, and then the stories they tell at the end of it. It's like that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Then you've got the Jeopardy. I often think a lot of people who use Tableau are introverted, right? And then they go and win the feeder and then get possibly the worst prize they could possibly win, which is to stand on stage and be judged in front of their peers, right? Like, could you imagine a bigger
That's the
nightmare?
worst nightmare.
Yeah, right.
Nightmare
And
for an introvert.
and they shine. They absolutely shine. And so it is an amazing experience to see. And I think one thing I found particularly last year. So last year was the first year I've been doing it since 2018,
Yeah.
and last year was the first year that I was like, I'm so comfortable keynoting it that I could just focus on the contestants in a way I haven't been able to in the past. Because we've got a big team. And I think one of the best things for me about hosting Iron Viz is seeing that journey from when they arrive on site on the Saturday before conference, like absolutely petrified and nervous. Not all of some of the extrovert ones are fine, but we get some people are so introverted, and then coaching them through the fact that they are going to be on stage in front of 5 to 8,000 people to the point that they embrace it and enjoy it and get an absolute thrill. And it's just amazing seeing that path. And
So
it's great. The crowd too.
you coached them prior to the event?
We give them a load of help. Yeah. Yeah. So we give them speaker training. We give them advice. I mean, one of the, I used to think it was a downside of winning Iron Viz is that, well, basically, your conference is wiped out. You can't really do very much because you're so
That's
focused
the
on Iron
focus.
Viz.
Yeah.
But until that thing. But what I came to realize is, there's been 10 years, so there's been 30 contestants, maybe 30 with Europe. There's been about 50 people who've ever done an Iron Viz, and they have all had an experience that you can't pay money to have, right? They get this behind
Sure.
stage, this on stage stuff. That whole experience is completely unique, and I hope every contestant ever looks back and has enjoyed that time they had.
But everyone goes to Tableau conference for different reasons, right? Some
Yeah,
people go to take in as much as many sessions as possible and learn as much as they can. Some people go to network, so, and some people learn things, just by or they go there to speak, right? And
Yeah.
so there's different things that you can take away from it.
Yeah.
And not everyone goes there for the same reason.
But yeah, but I think one of the but if you are one of those people who goes to network and consume content, and then you win the Iron Viz competition, and that is taken away from you, they've been like, oh my, yeah, but not people have never complained, but it has been an issue. But I think, but
But
always at the end, they're like,
what
oh,
better
they
way
got
to
to,
network than put yourself on stage in front of everyone?
oh,
You have to go and introduce yourself. You're already, that's like introducing yourself to 20,000 people right there.
there was one year. I won't name names because I don't think it's quite fair. But one year, one of the contestants did their presentation. It was like, "And thank you, good night." And literally, somebody went up and went, "I want you to come and work with us." Right? I think the other downside of Iron Viz is for the contestants' employers.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're on the Iron Viz stage. It's like it's an open door to any Tableau job you could
What,
possibly have.
so based on your experience and how often, how often does that happen? The dudes like that employers offer.
I know a lot of contestants have been given opportunities. But how many have been taken, I'm not sure, but it certainly opens a lot of doors.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, when you think back to all the moments in previous Iron Fist competitions, is there one moment that stands out the most? Like something that's like, what's your best memory from the
So
competition?
I'll give a moment, a personal memory, uh, and then a contestant memory. So the
Mm.
most there were in 2019, it was like, all right, and we're going to announce the scores. So the script, so we're going to announce the scores. I was going to get given an envelope and announce the scores, and all I could see is so we have a member of the production team is always sitting on the front row,
Yeah.
and then I just saw the production team member waving, going, just mouthing no scores. All right. Oh, apparently we don't have any scores. But so I didn't have anything in my ear, so I know I didn't know why.
Mm.
So I had to make stuff up for 7 minutes. Right, there was a 7 minute delay, and
Okay.
again, this was one of those moments where I realized all my speaker training, all my magic skills, all my ability to control, but not control, to make things happen were here because it was like, well, we've got judges on stage, we've got contestants, we can keep talking.
Hmm.
And so I managed to keep the show going for 7 minutes, right? And then we got through that. So that was a really
That was New
incredible.
Orleans, right? 2019.
Uh, yes, I was that. Yes, I think that was. Yes, that was. Yes, it wasn't. I can picture the arena. I can't picture the outdoors of the arena. Right.
That was the last one before COVID.
Yes, yes, it was.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So that was a moment that personally was incredibly powerful because it made me realize the skills. Appreciate the skills I have. And then the other moments are just when contestants do things that make the audience's jaws drop.
Mhm.
And the one that go back to is when Lindsay Poulter opened a text file and just dragged and dropped calculations
Oh, I remember
onto
that.
the thing,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
now every contestant does it, but it was just it was one of the great things about Tableau is the way it was architected. There are just things it can do and features that are in there. We never even document them, let alone talk about them. And somehow she discovered this thing, and there was this. And I remember, was it? I think it was Keisha Rose was hosting at that point. So we're just blathering on, talking about, and then just hear this from the crowd, and we're like, "Well, what just happened?" Right? And then the crowd are going nuts over some human being dragging some text from one place to another on a screen, right? And when you try and describe that to somebody outside the bubble, they're like, "Well, that sounds really dumb," but it's those moments they're just, oh, they're so good because everybody's kind of coming together and enjoying what they're seeing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's great. I mean, it's like you said, it's entertaining and it is fast. Like they go really
Mm.
fast and
Yeah.
I'm sure they rehearse it. So you can't really follow along, but you kind of just marvel at the speed in which they're doing it and how fast they're doing it. And these are not simple dashboards,
No,
right?
no, no, right? I mean, the Chris Westlake who won last year with the Office-based dashboard,
Yeah.
and then Tim Vermeeren, and so many people have put so many just complex hacks into these 20-minute builds. It's astonishing. It really is good.
Iron Viz is not the only thing you do at conference. Now you have chart chat, right?
Yeah. And yeah, so we do the video. So Amanda, Steve, Jeff, and I do a video series, Chart Chat, so monthly live, talking about data communication. And at conference, we're coming back for the fourth year. We basically do a makeover. It's not exactly an original format, but what we found is that each of us has a very different approach to rethinking how a chart can be communicated. And we one of the reason we do Chart Chat, the reason Chart Chat started was when we were writing the first book. We'd have editorial meetings every week, and we would have really passionate, heated arguments about how to show something, and we wanted to bring those to life. So we bring those debates to the stage and have some fun along the way. So
It's kind of like doing a live podcast, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you doing a live podcast at Tableau Conference yourself? Will there be a live Data Nerd podcast at conference?
Let's see. Maybe I mean, you know what? I thought about it, but I don't have the I don't know where I would do it. There's just no space. There's everything's
Yeah,
taken. Like,
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
I'll just walk around with my camera and video and just do like, you know,
yeah,
short snippets here and there and put it all together
yeah.
into a
But
pod.
then your brain is thinking, but that's a lot more editing. That's more editing.
Oh, it is. It is. It is. And then who knows? Maybe next year I will get a dedicated spot for podcasts, and I could have guests like
Yeah,
you come in appear. You know how like they do at the Super Bowl? I don't know. In the NFL, you have a whole week of media. The
yeah.
media is there, and they have like players and coaches and people who come in to talk on these live shows.
Well,
So
and you know what's remarkable? I mean, the founders of Tableau, Christian Chabot, Stolte, Elisa Fink, and those early people founding the company, they recognized the value of community and did a bunch of things that really encouraged growth and established a foundation of community right way back in 2005, 2006. And that foundation has grown to where we are today, where it's like people like you are doing podcasts. We've got our visionaries and ambassadors, and we've got, I mean, in our little world, celebrities, right? And they are people with interesting stories to tell, and it is both a really great testament to the founder's vision to set those foundations and encourage it, but also, it keeps me coming to work every day because it's just amazing seeing the work that people like you are doing and all the other ambassadors and visionaries as well. Not
yeah.
just to promote Tableau, but just to share their passion. That's and again, going back to evangelism. What I really care about, people being passionate, right? And if that happens to sell software, that's great. But I just want to hear and experience
Well, that's
passionate content.
that's the reason I fell in love with Tableau. Like when I went to the first conference, it was Austin.
Hmm.
That was that 2017?
16.
2016, yes. After that conference, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. And what sold me was not the sessions or the knowledge, it was the community.
Mm.
I was like, people really love this software and tool, what it can do. I love the passion. That's what kept me there. And now, um, you're talking about the community engagement and this whole Tableau ambassador program, right? I don't, this is the first year I've been an ambassador, but I'm a social ambassador. I don't know how long or how many years they've had the social ambassador for, but I think it's great because you go on LinkedIn or you go on whichever platform and you see people talk about Tableau and they're very passionate.
Mm.
I'm not, I don't really see the competitors engaged as much as the Tableau community.
Yeah, I think it. I mean, lots of tech firms have communities, right? But I think one of the unique things about Tableau is that the way it's built, like you can come at Tableau as a data engineer, you can come as a data scientist, or even as a business user who's curious, or you can come at it as an artist or a poet, right?
Mm.
And all of those avenues are open to you to get into this little world. And when you expand to that, so particularly the art, poet, the art side of things, it the diversity of people involved just explodes. There are our competitors have communities, but you go to those communities and they're largely built from analysts and engineers. Analysts and engineers are wonderful people, but
Yeah.
there's not as much diversity there. And so that reflects itself at Tableau conference. So I think Tableau Public was just a genius move
Oh yeah. It
15 years ago this year, I think,
yeah.
which has really helped.
Yeah, and Tableau Public is also, aside from your book, Big Book of Dashboards, Tableau Public was my go-to to
Yeah.
get ideas, so that
Yeah.
it's great. Um, so what's the future of Tableau? We're seeing AI, artificial intelligence. And that's really been, you just see it, with a lot of the things that are coming out and releases, and I'm assuming the next conference in April is going to be a huge focus on artificial intelligence,
Yep.
AI, Tableau agent, and whatnot. And I'm assuming there will be a lot of changes, and I'm seeing Tableau really adopting quickly to all these changes, right? They
Yeah.
don't want to be behind the eight ball. They want to be ahead. They want to be a leader. Where do you see this heading? What's the future?
Yeah. So I'll take the Tableau specific stuff first. So we've at the time of recording, we've just announced Tableau Next, which is a brand new version of Tableau. It's written on the core Salesforce platform, but the goal there is really to embrace an AI first world, really enable composable data assets. At the moment, one of the downsides of Tableau Cloud is that it's all kind of locked in. So
Mm,
there's a lot of everything's API first, and really tying into Salesforce's Agentforce technology. So bringing conversational analytics to business users, right? Right. I will defend the life of a data analyst to my death. So that is a thing. But I recognize that a data analyst, even a dashboard, is still a barrier from a business person having a question and getting an answer, right?
mm,
The goal is to eliminate all barriers, right? We can't eliminate all barriers because there has to be some sort of data engineering in the middle, right? But the goal is to get answers to these people as quickly as we can. So it might be that in future, the analyst work is really focusing on enabling natural language exploration of data so that these people can get answers more quickly because we can't anticipate all the questions they're going to answer when we design a dashboard. Right. I realize I'm just about to release another book about dashboards. I don't think dashboards are going to die because
no,
sometimes you just want to look at the pictures of the data to see that. So
yeah.
I've got a lot more to say about that, but I won't now because we'll have another hour of podcast if we do. So Tableau Next, you're gonna see a huge amount of that Tableau conference, and it's going to be a big focus on what we talk about publicly for the next 12 months. That'll be drip feeding out. We are not stopping support for Tableau Desktop and Tableau Cloud. In fact, we're building quite a lot. Well, we're building a lot of new features in Tableau Cloud and Tableau Desktop. Uh, I'm not sure if so I'm not going to tell you one of the things just in case I get in trouble, but there are some exciting things. There are some really exciting things coming there. Hopefully we'll be announcing those at Tableau conference. Um, so I think the product is still going great guns, right? If you're a Tableau desktop fan, we're still supporting you. If you want Tableau Next, you're going to be able to get involved in that. AI generally, oh my gosh, I love AI and I hate AI equally,
It's a
right?
love-hate
And
relationship, right?
it is it, I just can't process what I see. The innovation is happening so fast. It's amazing. Going and using these AI products is mind. Every now and then you get AI vertigo, and again, that's a phrase it's quite commonly heard. It's like you do something, and it's like wow, the ground shifts because something absolutely mind blowing just happened, and all you did was type a long prompt. So there is that. Um, the challenge is for all of that mind blowingness, turning it into scalable production ready things that are reliable and trusted is really hard. It might look amazing, but it might have literally made up some numbers that completely skew your results. So there's that. And then there's the environmental cost. As humans, we are suckers. I'm a sucker for just opening ChatGPT, typing in some prompts, and not really thinking that every single one of those prompts is the equivalent of charging a smartphone, right? We are sucking energy out of the atmosphere in
Yeah.
order to run this stuff, but it's hidden. And then there's a lot of ethical questions, again, which we probably don't need to go into now, but the
Yeah.
ethics behind AI is quite profound. And yet I am drawn to it like honey, bee, like a bee to a flower, right? It's just so cool to play with. So, it's,
No,
yeah.
I get it, and so, I was playing around with the agent, and I was like, okay, what can this do? And what I realized was that it's a tool that you can leverage to help you, assist you to do your job better, not replace your job. Okay, so
Hmm.
I created a dashboard using AI, but it wasn't not everyone would have been able to do it the same way,
No,
right? And so AI or agent or will help you and assist you to get you there. And what it did for me was it gave me ideas. I was like, okay, here's my data set. What do you suggest? And it gave me ideas, and I'm like, oh, I didn't think of it this way. Let me do this. But then I still have to kind of make it a finished product and package, and that is still a skill set that's needed. And AI is not, at least not yet. Maybe 5 years from now it will be.
right now, but here's the challenge. You and I, we've been in our career for a while, right? So we have
Yeah.
learned those skills. My eldest daughter is 17, and her friends are all 17 and 18. They're just using Gen AI to just do their homework and do all their assignments. They're not learning the fundamental skills, right? So in
So
20
that
in
is
20
that
years time, when they're a
that's
data
a
analyst,
problem, is it not? Because then they're not learning it themselves. They're getting AI to do it for them, right?
exactly, right? So you and I can do a task in conjunction with AI,
Hmm.
knowing that we've got our human knowledge. They can't. And now it could be we're all dinosaurs and we see a problem there. Or it could be that in 4 years' time, the products have innovated so fast that even though they never got the foundational skills, they might just be innately available inside the tools, in which case they'll be fine, but they might not be. Mm. And, these are the quandaries that,
Yeah.
well, we are walking into
Yeah.
slightly blindly.
But the other thing is, and we're talking about Iron Viz and all this, the creativity of Tableau. If if AI replaces what we do, Tableau will not be what it is because it's the creativity that
Hmm.
that that really people love with Tableau. AI is gonna build a dashboard the same way. Everyone's gonna like if all the dashboards look the same, then like takes the fun out of it, right?
Well, it's you can spot AI generated images in advertising campaigns from a mile off, right? Anything in ChatGPT or Midjourney has this kind of slightly hyper realistic lighting.
Yeah.
It all looks the same, right? So you can
Yeah.
see it. I the challenge I faced from a how does capitalism work? Oof, yeah, let's go down this path, right? Um, for a lot of companies, it's good enough, right? You can make some AI content, you can churn it out, you can publish it to the web, and it'll be good enough.
Hmm.
And then if you are a writer, you'll be like, but it's crap writing. Yeah, but you writer, you cost a lot of money, whereas the AI costs $20 a month, or well, probably $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And so from a business perspective, the kind of crappy writing, it's good enough, isn't it? And this is I hate that. Right? I'm just like, oh, I see it. I get why, but is that what we want? A society where everything we consume is just good enough? Just feels a bit bland to me, that future. But we have to fight against it because capitalism demands profits over everything else.
Yeah. And
We're getting heavy capital. If Andy's talking about capitalism, we know we're going down a dangerous path.
maybe this is a good time to end the podcast, right?
Yeah, possibly.
Let's not get into any trouble here. But no, I mean, listen, we could talk for another hour.
We could.
Maybe we'll find some time in person at Tableau conference. We'll sit down, maybe, get some in-person snippets and
Yeah,
videos.
I'd love to.
And I'd love to meet there. And I'm looking forward to listening to you on stage and on the chart chat and I'm really looking forward to top. This is like the one thing I look forward to each year.
Yeah.
My wife doesn't understand like why so much, and I don't know how to explain it. And you get it, but like to anyone who's not a data person or works in Tableau, it's kind of hard to explain, why we're so enthusiastic about going
Yeah.
to a conference like this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been to every Tableau conference since 2010, and again, it's the highlight of my year. It is an amazing experience. I mean, I'm wearing I got a new Tableau T-shirt today. This is an insert on
Oh,
Tableau one. It's the T-shirt of the old 404 page. But I was saying to
that,
my
will,
wife, I was like,
will they be selling that at the Tableau
no,
conference?
it's an employee. Well, I think it was employee only. But the point
Okay.
being that I was saying, my wife was like, if you ever leave Tableau, you'll have what and say you went left and went to a competitor, right? You're
Yeah.
like you'd have to throw your entire wardrobe out. You'd have nothing to wear, Andy. So yeah,
Listen,
the
this
swag.
I got this at the conference. This no joke. This is the most comfortable
Yeah, good.
sweatshirt I've ever like. It's just so comfortable. It doesn't just look good. It's very comfortable.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
a good
good
one.
quality stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, there's all that energy, the custom swag that people bring. I love the stuff that people make themselves. So yeah, see everybody at conference. And
Yeah.
dashboards that deliver is out in September as
Yeah,
well.
looking forward to it. I'll end off with this question. So you said you've been to every conference since 2010. Which one is your favorite? And perhaps the city has plays a role in that too, right?
I think blimey. Well, there's an answer into the craziness of the parties,
Hmm.
but I don't think I should talk about that.
I won't tell you why.
Well, that would be Las Vegas
That Las Vegas, yeah,
for
that's
reasons
what I
I
was
won't go into.
guessing. Yeah.
Yeah. The best I think the best Iron Viz was the 2019 with Keisha. We had an absolute blast on stage. The event, yeah,
New
that
Orleans,
was
that was New Orleans, right?
yeah, that was New
That was a
Orleans.
great conference. That was one of my
Yeah.
favorites too. It
No,
was
29, no, 20, no, 2018 was New Orleans because that was the first time I did Iron Viz. That was when I wore the cool blue
what was
suit. 29,
2019?
2019 was Vegas.
Oh, it was Vegas.
Uh,
Yeah. Yes.
yeah, that I think that was just the best. Yeah, that was yeah. That Iron Viz year was just particularly entertaining. So and they've all been amazing. I can't.
You
It's not a fair question to answer, and because
yeah.
they've all had some ridiculous moment that I will cherish to the end of my days.
Yeah, yeah. I I'm looking forward to going back to San Diego. I think this was last year was the first time I've been to San Diego. I was expecting it to be a little warmer, to be honest.
Yeah,
I did have to go around in a sweatshirt and long sleeve.
yeah. That
Sonic did-
California breeze was
Yeah, yeah.
really good.
But
Yeah, well, we were there. We were there in 2013 as well, first time. But the entire conference was just in the Hilton Hotel. And I remember Christian Chabot saying 1 year we'll be in the convention center. So it took us
here we
10
are.
years.
Yeah, awesome. We don't know yet where next 2026 conference will be, right? Well, we'll know in April. They usually announce it right after the conference.
Hmm. Hmm. I'm
All
going to
right.
say nothing.
No, I'm not. I'm not gonna listen. I don't want to get you in trouble, so
No,
but
no.
no, I appreciate it, Andy. This has been great, and I'll see you at Tableau conference.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for having me on. All this content is really good. It's great seeing the promotion of the community, and to everyone listening, yeah, find me on LinkedIn. But come and say hi to me at any event. It's always a great pleasure to meet the people.
Yeah, so LinkedIn's the best way to get in touch with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. I'll put your profile up in the show notes for the podcast, and I'll see you in Vegas. In no, not Vegas,
Well,
in San
if I see
Diego.
you in Vegas, something that will have been a good party if we end up in Vegas. Yeah, I'll see you in San
Well,
Diego.
well, Vegas isn't too far from San Diego.
Yeah. All right.
All right, Andy, take care.
Take care, everybody.